I'm gonna show you some dirty jiu-jitsu. After listening to these stories, you're going to understand 3 important things that will help your game and when these moves can get you in trouble. You can learn from my past mistakes. Hello, welcome back to my channel, or if this is your first time meeting me, my name is Crystal. If you watched more than one of my videos, go ahead and subscribe so we can be friends. Back in 2016, I had just first started learning jiu-jitsu, and my first coach, Jack, he was like, all right, I'm gonna show you this. You can use this here, but I'm warning you, if you go and start using this at other gyms, you might get some looks. We'll be like, rude. Fast forward to when I moved from Maine to Boston. I'm in a new school. I'm rolling with a Boston BJJ black belt who is about 200 pounds. And this roll that we were having, it wasn't like MMA fight camp rounds. This was playful. So I take my hand and I cover his mouth and nose. And his reaction was like, he burst out into laughter and he was like, you're fun. Now there's the other end of the spectrum. I was rolling somebody like similar to size and skill as me. We were rolling and I get into a Keisagatami position. You can go for an Americana. When they straighten their arm to defend the Americana, you now have an arm bar. When they move their arm downward to put their hand in their pocket to defend the arm bar, now you have a Kimura. But here's the thing, if they have the underhook and your arm is in an overhook position, it's very easy for them to sweep you from that position. So in order for you to have a dominant position and to be secure in that position to then go for a submission, you need to have that far side underhook. So I was trying to get that far side underhook, but he was using that arm to pin my arm. So I couldn't get it. So what do you do? Like, what would you do in this instance? So I was like, all right. So I put the arm that was by my legs, between my legs in a mounted crucifix position. That way we can get that out of the equation. We can use my legs to do that submission series. Then I'm like, I need to get my far side arm back because if I don't, if I can't get the underhook, the submission, the submissions are toast, the position's toast. It might be a reversal and I might end up on the bottom, which if you do jiu-jitsu, you know how much that can stink. So I'm like, all right, I take my hand that's on like the same side as my legs and I put it over his mouth. I put my thumb, hook it under his chin and use my pinky to pinch his nose shut. And you might be thinking, Crystal, like, that's mean. Of course, this is dirty jiu-jitsu, but here's the thing, okay? It had a purpose. So he had a choice. He can either continue using the same arm that was preventing my underhook from getting an underhook. He can either use that arm to remove my hand, or he can continue to get muffled and not breathe. You can use these dirty moves. I'm going to show you another one, in a minute, but you can use these dirty moves very strategically in order to make them choose between the muffle or moving something to remove the muffle that will then allow you to progress in whatever you're trying to do. After we were done the roll, he was like, "You're so mean," but he said it in a way that was like, that was a little dirty, but I kind of respect it. Here's another story going to help you out. I was rolling with my current coach and he likes to put himself in negative positions and try to work on his defense to negative positions. Of course, we believe him when he says that. I use that as an excuse if I'm ever put in a negative position. I am trying to use a triangle as a hold in order to execute an arm bar. Now, what he's doing is he is tucking his arm inside my leg in order to prevent me from isolating the arm, which would then give me the arm bar. We need to make him move his arm. So I go to put my hand over his face to muffle him, but I accidentally poke him in the eye. And at that moment, his nostrils flare. You never want to piss off the person who's teaching you how to fight, okay? At that moment, I was like, oh God, if he gets out of this triangle, I might be in a world of hurt. I didn't mean to poke his eye. This isn't like, Three Stooges jiu-jitsu. Last story for this move to help you out, and then we're gonna go over a new move. This is super important because it's going to show you another way to strategically use this move. I'm rolling on the bottom of Keisugadami, and there is an escape where you put your legs over their head in order to rock them back, and then you can you can get top position. I used like the muffling technique instead of the chin cupping by just covering his mouth. And in that instance, you could tell I just messed up his whole game. He like started laughing and he was like, oh my God. And muffling technique can be used as a replacement for any time that you would, any technique in which you would cup the chin, you can then replace it with the muffling technique. And it also serves to show like it can be a great distraction technique, because it definitely messes up the thought flow when you get an unexpected like hand over your mouth. Be careful though, when you compete, definitely check the rules, because there have been times when muffling will get you disqualified. The beauty of jiu-jitsu is that you can use the principle of making them choose against, you know, something that sucks to give you something that you want, for them to feel less crappy and get them out of a position. Like that type of pressure choice is not really like, you know, jerk jujitsu, because you're giving them the option. It's not like you're doing it just to do it. There's a purpose and a strategy behind it, okay? So I remember one time I was rolling and I was in a north-south position. I was trying to defend a white belt arm barring me with like all of his might. And so in this moment, I'm like, I see my foot and it's close to his neck. And I was like, okay, well, I'm just gonna post on his neck. I'm not going to like kick it or, you know, do anything to me, but I'm just going to gently start with some pressure and then gradually increase the pressure so that he has a choice. He can either let go of my arm so I can defend the arm bar, and that way he lets go in order to remove my foot, or he commits to the arm bar and just grows increasingly uncomfortable. So of course, you know, once he figured that out, he seemed confused at first. He was like, what is she doing? And then you could see the light bulb moment of like, oh, I see what she's doing. Putting, you know, an extremity on their neck, posted on their neck, can help you get what you want, and can give you, you know, like the subtle advantage that is sometimes needed to convince somebody they should go a certain way. What move could you see yourself using this? Like, would you use it? Or would you be afraid of, I don't know, somebody getting angry at you? But like I said before, if you do it with like, people can sense vibes, and if you have like a playful vibe or, you know, like a chill vibe, or you're just doing it in a matter-of-fact, logical way with a clear strategy behind it, and, you know, the person can realize that, like, they're going to appreciate the clever solution, most likely, especially if they have some experience. Part of my biggest growth as a human has been from jiu-jitsu. I remember when my first coach would tell me to do something differently, I would say, oh, okay, like, but I, you know, was thinking of doing this because of that. And then I remember him just looking at me and then saying, miss the old days of students coming in, and it was just like, yes and thank you. There wasn't any back talk about explaining why they're doing something. Crystal, you're a white belt, you don't know anything. Went home and I thought about it, I'm like, you know, he has a good point. From that point forward, it has always been like, I get feedback either verbally or physically, and it's like, yes and thank you, because yeah. So if you find you like something about like my videos, or you don't like something, like, feel free to leave a comment and let me know like what you like or what you don't like. It could be video format or things that you like do you like it when I narrate a role like with the laptop? Do you want me to, you know, be more technical, or maybe make more jokes and make it a little more lighthearted? Because I really like turning situations and adding comedy, because, you know, it really gets you through to be able to laugh at things. Thanks, Gary. All right, so my coach and I slap hands, and I immediately fall to my knees because I am just in awe of the sheer skill. He asked us to start in closed guard at the beginning of all of our rolls. So I pop up and I try to break his guard, but he's doing a very good job of applying pressure, like downward force, that makes him feel extremely heavy and difficult to move, and it makes me feel like my movements are extremely slow. And I am back to where I started. Again, when you pop up to your feet, one thing that you can do is try to put your feet as close to their armpits as possible. That way you decrease the effectiveness of their hips in order to perform the clown sweep. So I then get top position and I roll to take the back. And right now we are grip fighting, so I can try to get under his chin in order to complete a rear naked choke. Of course, he's doing a very good job of defending it. I go to a technical mount and take the arm. Anytime that I have an armbar and I'm having difficulty finishing it, what I like to do is I like to slide my leg through their arms. That way I can get a triangle position and use that triangle position to hold them. So from this triangle position, what I am trying to do is I am trying to isolate his arm, but he's doing a very good job of keeping that arm tucked under my leg and cupping my thigh near my knee pit. And I'm trying to move with him because I don't want him hipping out and escaping. So I work to tighten my triangle and try to get his arm. And at this point, I try to muffle him and I accidentally poke his eye and and I see his nostrils flare and I'm like, oh God. So in this instance, I have the arm isolated, not completely, but I have an underhook by the elbow pit. And now what he's trying to do is he's trying to turn on his left side to pull his arm back. And what I like to do is I like to do a Kimura grip on the edge, and that way I can push the wrist down as I pull up, and that additional leverage is very useful. So he tries to get out of it, and I move to a mounted triangle. Now I have his arm captured but not fully isolated because he's still, you see his hands? Do you see his hands? He still has that hand cupped under my leg. So his arm isn't fully isolated. So now he clasps his hands together, which is another defense. And now I have his head I am just trying to figure out a way to isolate that arm. And I move to a regular triangle from a supine position or from a back position. Now I'm still trying to isolate that arm because him gripping his own arms like that is what is preventing me from fully extending his arm. And right now I grip my shin in order to readjust the triangle. That way I can get a better alignment using my legs in order to get a triangle submission. You could use the triangle as a hold, and the reason why it didn't work as a submission, the triangle itself, was because my legs weren't in alignment to his carotid arteries. If you can isolate the arm, then it really doesn't matter because you can use that hold as leverage to get the arm bar. You can have somebody in a triangle and move from position to position to position. So that's something that to keep in mind. As a white belt, I remember when I was first shown, a triangle, they show you from the supine position when you're on your back. But if you think about it, you can rotate your body like 360 degrees and you can stay in that triangle position and move to mount, move to the side, move all around. I remember my first coach, J Jack, saying like, when you are up against the wall, it's almost like the same thing as having somebody on the floor, except you don't have the gravitational force on your side. So it's really kind of like mind-blowing to think of it in terms of that, of just like moving the image, like rotating at 90 degrees. So thank you so much for watching. Go ahead and subscribe if you found any value in this video, or if I made you laugh at any point, or if you've seen, more than one video and you want to be friends, it's cool with me. So yeah, it was my pleasure to share these stories, these personal stories with you, and some insights. So then next time you roll, you can have a few aces up your sleeve to get it done, All right, until next time, bye.